Hey gang, welcome to the video comparison of the Super Sentai Zords to the Power Ranger Dino Charge Dino Zords. So let's go ahead and get into it. The first comparison that we need to talk about are the batteries. As you can see, there is a massive size difference between the two batteries. We've got the original Sentai version here that has two sides to it, and then we have the US version here, which has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides to it. Also, the US version has the QR code for some reason. As you can see, definitely a change or a different in size here. I don't know why they're so different other than the fact that the Zords here in the US are much smaller. I feel that this thing is a choking hazard though. Other than the obvious size difference with all of the units, we're going to be taking a look at the difference in paint apps and the overall difference in the figures. For our Triceratops here and Tricera, you could tell that the Japanese version just has more options and more paint, especially on the crest armor here, and then a little bit more here on the sides. But otherwise, they're very, very similar. In fact, I'd have to go as far to say that I think the paint job on the US tail is better than the one from the Sentai tail. Overall, though, they're practically identical other than size and some paint apps. The pink is exactly the same, which I'm very thankful for. One thing that I really dislike about the US version is they took out this gimmick right here, the part where the horns can flip back and go with the drill, as opposed to, well, we have is this stabbing gimmick, or this whatever shield gimmick is. So I wish they did that, but I can understand why they didn't. Next up are the Stegos, and in all honesty, they're virtually identical other than size and the little missing paint apps right here on the top. Oh, and they're always going to miss the paint apps right here next to the heads or next to the combiner ports. Otherwise, they're identical, maybe just a little less spiky in the US version. And the yellows are a little bit brighter in the US version. Or I should say, not brighter, but I would actually go as far as saying they're kind of duller or less orange. There's more orange in these. The other big difference has to do with the sword blade that is used in Megazord mode. You'll notice the US is lacking paint completely, whereas the Japanese version is nicely painted. Next up is Velociraptor, and as you can see, well, I think the differences are obvious. It's just a difference in size and paint apps. Specifically, we are missing the paint app here on the arm, the paint app at the combiner port, different paint app here on the feet. They are yellow as opposed to the silver, and missing silver here on the legs. Other than that, they're virtually identical, except for size, obviously. Now, the only other real difference between these two guys are the way the tail splits. As you can see, the Japanese version just kind of opens up like a three-pronged fork, while the US version opens up more like Wolverine's claws, if they were kind of in an angle. This one reminds me more of like a pitchfork or a farmer's fork, while this one reminds me of Voldo's weapon from Soul Calibur. And here are the two Para-Zords. Chief differences are basically size and paint scheme. Again, it's really kind of funny. There is also slight molding changes, but nothing really overly noticeable. Again, paint and size. The other difference I would say is in how the legs fold up for the combination. As you see here on the left with the Sentai version, the legs fold up away pretty nicely, while on the US version, nowhere near as nice or as neat. And finally, we have the Tyrannos. You can see the size difference is definitely noticeable. The other major difference I would have to say is that the back of the US version, which is what we're comparing to here on the Japanese version, is nowhere near as painted as the Japanese version. But otherwise, most of the paint apps are still there, except for, obviously, the legs right here. The only other big differences are the connector bits are red, not black. The tail sections are significantly smaller, and the head, or the helmet, is stored in the Tyranno's butt, which you can see right there, and not in the tail. The other big difference is there are no lights and sounds here in the US version. So let's go ahead and combine them into the Megazords and see the differences there. And here we have the two Megazords. As you can see, there is a difference in size. I'm sorry, I just got a text from my wife. And some paint. Another big difference is the fact that the American version here does not have the lights and sound, or I should say the sound gimmick that is found in the Japanese version. Also, the big paint differences are pretty noticeable, especially down here on the legs. The section here does not flip down to form kneecaps. There's no paint in here, no paint here, and no paint on the outside. Other than that, though, they are pretty similar, save for the paint apps and, well, obviously the Zord Builder peg right here, here, and here, and the looseness of the shoulders, which is due to the Zord Builder series. Overall, I think Bandai did a good job. So let's go ahead and take a quick look at Western. And here are the two Western versions. As I said earlier, the big differences are size, the sound gimmicks, paint apps, and that's pretty much it. We have some differences, yeah, but I think this Zord Builder USA version is actually quite good and definitely worth your money, especially if you're a Power Rangers fan. Are the things going to be better going forward? I have no idea, because we still have, 2 years of Dino Charge ahead of us, because, well, Saban's got to stretch those years out, don't they? So guys, I hope you enjoyed this look at the differences between the Voltsaurs and the Dino Zords. As always, I'm Baltmatrix, asking you to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you next time.